Hey team, can you believe we are on week 4? It's fantastic. We are at the halfway point. I appreciate all the effort. So keep working hard, finish strong, keep driving, keep driving, keep driving. Um, I have, as you can see on the screen, naturalistic observations overview open. Why is this open? Well, because it's going to be coming due on Monday of week 6. So not this coming Monday, but the week after that. And we're going to, this is the first one of our major projects come due. So we're going to talk about this one. This is the template that you can download. Notice it gives you the table that you can fill out. Now, when you do this, make sure you take a look at the sample. If I can get it open here, I want to show you. Remember, APA is how we talk with each other, is how we communicate. And when I say communicate, that means the better you write an APA style, the better you come across to others. So let's practice, practice, practice this. And one way to do this is by writing the abstract with keywords down at the bottom. Why is this important? Because if you choose to write articles, things like that, the abstract is what people are going to read to decide if they're going to read further about what you've done. So you want to be able to write a good abstract. A good abstract has a hook, so it pulls somebody in to what you're reading. Make it interesting. Highlight some points that you found or things like that. And then notice, jump right in, stage of life, toddler, the synergy paper, stage of life, preschool. So now, what is also important is that during this, here, you are only permitted to observe. So you're not going to be going in and trying to engage or interact with these folks because that would require an informed consent. And we're not doing the informed consent. That would take quite the process to get done within this limited amount of time. It's not impossible, but it's just not necessary for this because we're not uh, interacting. So we're only observing. So that's kind of one of the keys. And if you look here, when Sally Student was the awesome student that did this one, the synergy paper, after observing preschool population, the community pool location is determined. So telling where she was, what was the effect at the pool. So this is where we get to kind of look into, does environment matter? How did environment play in with this? So look at these samples that Sally Student wrote, and you can kind of gauge how you're going to write these as well. Now, as been brought up, APA is important, and you notice this is single spaced, and that is technically against APA regulations. Well, we can write single space in this one because we're allowed to deviate from that to meet certain needs and requirements per the school. So that is absolutely okay, and that's why it's okay. The second page, synergy, and then let's grab the young adult, and then the synergy paper here, and then the middle adult right there, and then the references as well. Remember, your references get their own page, and actually single space here and double space in between references as well. You can double space it all, but if you want to make it that much easier to read, utilize single space in between here and then double space between references. That's where we want the double space. We want the single space here. So hopefully that part makes sense about APA. Why is it important to write an APA style? I'm going to put together a little thing for bias in language and bias in writing. Not sure exactly how I'm going to approach that yet. So if you have any great ideas on how to approach that, let me know, because remember, throughout our 8 weeks, we're just going to be digging in, saying why, and getting better, better, and better at writing APA style and everything else. Because I can use as much help as I can as well with writing, because we always get better. We never stop getting better. We always get better at writing, because that's just simply how we communicate a lot of what we do. So let's continually get better at what we do. In this week's conversation, we're talking about teenagers. I'm not going to flip back to it now. And one of the videos is teenage depression, because that is real. Because remember, they are really in their affective domain or their amygdala area as a teenager. They're not, all parts of the brain are not working equally at that time. That's why we might think that they're a little bit crazy for the non-technical term, but why teenagers seem to sometimes have difficult making rational decisions, things like that, because they are hanging out pretty much entirely in their amygdala, and that does lend itself sometimes to depression, and that is very, very real. As you all know here, it's one of those unseen things because it's not like a broken arm where you can see it. It's one of those. It's an emotional. Um, Distress, it's an emotional disorder that people can't see, so they sometimes people have a hard time understanding that it is real. And circling back to communication, we need to know how to really communicate these things because teenage depression is real, but for some reason, teenage depression, when they're hanging out in that amygdala area, they experience it more than adults. So we have to get good at communicating what that is. So maybe we can turn this tide of people who don't really think that depression is something real, or they don't really understand it because they don't see something physically hurting. It's taken forever to do that with PTSD, post traumatic stress disorder. And there are still people out there who have a hard time understanding or really believing that that is real as well. So we need to get good at communicating so more and more people understand the reality of this and how important it is. So appreciate all your work and effort on this, and I'll see you in the discussions.